All right, and we are recording. Welcome everyone to this, our session 2 of Trophy Gold, the Soul Sword Forge. This session is organized as part of the Gauntlet gaming community. We are a community of like-minded gamers who get together on the internet and play ridiculous fun games like this one. You can find out more about the Gauntlet at gauntlet-rpg.com, where you can find out all about the gaming and the podcasts and the Codex zine and all the other wonderful stuff that Gauntlet does. My name is Sam Zimmerman. I use he and him pronouns, and I will be the game master for tonight's session. This is a session about exploring an abandoned castle that was left over by a sorcerer. It deals with a lot of elements of imprisonment and abandonment and ambition. And so we are using a lot of safety tools tonight. We are using lines and veils. We are using the X card. We are using script change, and we are using the open door policy. A link to all of those things and where you can learn more about them is included in the description of the video. Also, quick thing I want to note, this game is coming to Zine Quest. It is launching tomorrow, in fact. Tomorrow morning, you can go, as of the time of recording this video, by the time this goes live, it'll probably be live already. You can go and back it, and a link to that will also be in the description of the video. And with that, let's introduce our fantastic players. So I'm just going to go clockwise in the order that I have you on my Zoom screen. And so that is Gerald.
Hi, yeah, I'm Gerald. Use he, him pronouns. I am playing Rasay tonight, who also is he, him pronouns, and who is a former knight, now a bit of a leech. Leave it at that.
Awesome. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of them. Jan, if you want to introduce yourself.
My name is Jan. I use he, him pronouns. My character's name is Vero. He, well, he is a character. Oh God, how do I describe this guy? Well, I'm not going to describe him. Maybe we'll just learn it together what kind of person he is. Suffice it to say, he's a jerk.
Yeah, okay. We'll go with that. And Daniel, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hey, I'm Daniel. I use he, him, they, them pronouns. I'm playing Alicio tonight. Uses he, him pronouns. Alicio is just a really unlucky dude. He was wolf bitten, but the curse didn't really take, so he's kind of caught in a little bit between being a man and a werewolf. He has an unrequited but sort of like tragically leveraged love of a noblewoman who has sent him on some impossible quest out of out of a sort of sense of spite, and has promised to marry him if he is successful, which he will be. And I guess so. He is a lockpick, like a pickpocket, a thief. And I guess that's largely it.
Cool. And finally, John.
Hello, I am John. I use he, him pronouns. I am playing Parda, who uses she, her pronouns. And Parda is a failed witch hunter with the scars to prove it. She now makes her way in this world mostly as a scavenger, making her way through the old regions of Kaldor, and is probably here mostly for the riches and maybe a bit of that power that is rumored to be somewhere deep within this castle.
Rumored is an excellent term. So now that we have a little bit of an idea of who we are, let's figure out where we are. So at the end of last session, The four of you had made your way arduously and kind of disgustingly up through the mud and muck of this wet hill that you have been climbing for the past probably hour or two, trying to get to the gates of this enormous castle. Along the way, you encountered spirits that you affectionately named shadows of the creator, these kind of chain-like specters that reach out of corpses and try and pull your soul in and lock your soul down into the depths of whatever magic is keeping this place locked down. And you are also being harassed by an enormous flock of thousands and thousands of crows that Parda managed to piss off by stabbing one of them. And now the crows have taken it upon themselves to get their vengeance. So each of you, Parda, Rasei, and Vero, are fairly close to the gate itself. You guys kind of have your back to the gate, which is this patchwork amalgamation of different barricades and structures that are very obvious that this gate has been broken through and repaired from the inside and broken through again about 15 or 20 times at this point. And Eliseo is a little bit farther down the hill. If I remember correctly, you were offering these candies to the crows to try and placate them, and making your way slowly up this hill. Vero is covered in tar and mud and is disguising himself from the crows, and Parda is defending herself and Rasei by waving this ever-burning white flame torch that she managed to light.
I would like to just specify that I'm 100% covered in tar, but only half feathered.
Very well put. So I think the person that we are going to jump to immediately is Eliseo. Since you are slowly getting mobbed by more and more of these crows that are flocking down. Some of them are landing on your hand and pecking at the candies that you're holding out to them. Others are avoiding them altogether and landing on your shoulders and like pulling at your hair a little bit. But you can tell that you definitely don't have enough candies to hold off all of them. Is there something you would like to do in the meantime?
Yeah, so right. I think like Eliseo initially considers this to be sort of like a positive outcome. Like, look, I've got friends now. But like as they start to get more and more sort of aggressive, he'll begin sort of swatting at them and yelping in pain and sort of hurrying faster towards the rest of them. I assume that the danger here is that Eliseo is probably going to get overwhelmed before he gets to everyone else. Is that kind of what we're looking at?
Yeah, we can formalize that with a risk roll if you want to do that.
Okay. Well, yes, I do not want that to happen for sure. What I was thinking about doing is I'm interested in seeing how rituals work. So I was thinking about using burrow.
Oh yeah, okay.
To escape them and move move up the hill under the ground.
Yeah, I love that. So rituals are just a risk roll.
Okay.
It's narrative fiction for why you would be able to do something cool in the moment, and I think that totally makes sense as something that would get you past all of these crows that are kind of flocking in front of you. But magic is inherently dangerous, and so when you make that risk roll, you have to include that first dark die. You can't choose to not roll a dark die the first time.
Gotcha. Understood.
And so
all right.
I love that. So let's quickly go through the motions of the risk roll, just so that we're all kind of back on the same page here. So what do you want to achieve?
So I think that I would like, Alicia would like to get to the others, to get to the safety of the others further up the hill without being pecked to death.
Okay, I think that tracks. And then each of the rest of us can say something that we think can go wrong. I think that the failure state here, I don't know that it's necessarily that you don't make it through, because I think that you've kind of established that you are going to be able to make it through. I think that it's one of the crows manages to get one of your eyes before you get underground.
Cool.
What's
I like
the
it.
what's the wording for the how this works again? You said it's it happens no matter what, right? There was like a specific turn of phrase.
So there's two different things. So right now we are going through what happens if he fails. And that can be straight up failure. That can be you are digging through the ground and you accidentally pop out into one of these flame pits and you get incinerated. It can be lots of different things. We're just establishing what the kind of the level of failure is here. And then the second thing that we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to offer devil's bargains, which are the no matter what this thing happens, but if you accept it, you get another die for your roll. So, Parda, Rasei, Vero, do you guys have any ideas of what could go wrong here?
You could essentially create or encounter like a sinkhole, right? Like this tunnel you're attempting to burrow could just collapse in on you.
I wasn't going to go so far as in being incinerated, but I was thinking about if you tunnel and you like cross over some part of the flame stuff, that the flame follows you through the tunnel, burning you, but you manage to still make it through.
That
Feels very action movie.
Yeah. Vero, Jan, do you have an idea?
I mean, I like the imagery of that, so I think I'll just stick with what Rasai had suggested. I love the idea of like him emerging out of a hole and then just like coming up behind him, you know?
Yeah, that's good. So Eliseo, do you have a skill, a piece of equipment, or some part of the environment that you're using to help you here?
Yeah, I think so. I think this will fall under transformation. So I think that like he will, as he is moving up the hill, he'll sort of like develop these like inhumanly bulky arms and legs that terminate in claws, and like the burrow is going to be just like he's literally going to burrow through the ground like a groundhog or something like that, right? Just like tremendously fast.
That's good. I love that. So yeah, you get a light die for that. And then Devil's Bargains. I want to lean into that. I'm going to say the Devil's Bargain here is no matter what, it takes a long time for that transformation to go away. And so you're stuck with these beast arms for a little bit. Does anybody else have Devil's Bargains?
Yeah, I got a good one. No matter what, you burrow through like I don't know how many bodies and souls, and you come away with like these like traumatizing memories of God knows how many lives and screaming souls.
Yikes.
I will offer that your burrowing awakens something that is buried under the ground, maybe out here, maybe in the castle, who knows? To be determined.
Those are
I
all
like
great.
all of them.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't want to overwhelm you with too much choice, so I'm not gonna offer one. I think those are all awesome.
I like all of them. I feel like I'm particularly enamored. I feel like I'm particularly enamored with the idea that Alicio discovers that he is burrowing less through dirt and more through bodies. That's sort of tremendous. So yeah, like if everyone's cool with it, I think that's what I'd like to do.
Yeah, that's a good one. I love that one. All right. And then since you're using a ritual, you do include the dark die. So you get to roll 2 light die and 1 dark die.
2 light and 1 dark. Okay, here we go.
All right, that is 2 5s on the light die. So that is a success with a complication. So you chose to come away with like you're swimming through these corpses almost. I say swimming because it's more mud than solid earth at this point, and it's just kind of like goopy and it sticks to you and it's disgusting crawling through here. So I think the complication is going to be that when you pull out, there are these glowing chains that are kind of wrapped around one of your arms, and you're going to have to deal with that. So since the dark die was not the highest, you can choose to add another dark die and roll all 4 of them again if you don't like that.
I know I'm the least lucky person in the world. I'm gonna go with this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So what does it look like when you like burrow out of the ground in front of the rest of these 3?
Yeah, so I think like Alicio sort of dives into the ground in this like huge like basically smoke cloud of crows, right? And you see sort of like the really sort of typical like mole pile kind of like moving up the hill, right, where he's going. And the behind him where the crows were, they're all sort of like coming down and then going, shooting back up. So there's like this really cool pattern of crows like diving and then raising back into the air. And then near the rest of the group, Alicio just like he just erupts from the ground, like almost airborne, and gets he is just covered in viscera, right? Like he's probably like, his shirt is drenched, his pants are drenched, just like everything is drenched. He's got these large beast-like arms, but he is laying on the ground like a toddler. He's like clutching his knees to his chest, and he's shaking and he's whining and he's crying, and he looks worse than Vero for sure. And the like as he is there, sort of like half catatonic, the chain that is wrapped around like his back leg or whatever is starting to drag him back towards the hole.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that you are getting these chaotic visions, these like the last thoughts of all of these different people, and you are getting killed hundreds of times over every second as death after death, chaos. It's this repeated battles of visionless, nameless armies that are constantly warring on this plane, and you can't tell when one begins and one ends. You're just bodies after bodies, soldiers and soldiers getting stabbed, impaled, cut in half, ripped apart, trampled by horses, just over and over and over again. The rest of you, what are you interested? What do you do when you see this sight? You have like this almost like bubble that Parda is kind of like creating by waving this torch around, and so you can move around a little bit, but you really only have about 10 feet in any direction that's clear of these crows that are trying to get closer, and Parda's constantly just like flailing, trying to keep them all away.
Yeah, I'm flailing and waving this torch back and forth to keep the crows from being able to swoop too low. And I'm gonna turn and yell to Vero and say, "One of you, get those chains off of him quickly! We have to get through this gate."
Yeah, and Vero is like, the crows have targeted me. Clearly, I look like one of the an invader of some sort. Well, it can't be me. Plus, I'm not too strong after all. I've lived a long and hard life.
Before long and hard life, Rosé has already started to move out to try to drag Alicio in.
I love that. So what does that look like as you're trying to pull these chains off of Elisio?
Yeah, I rush down there and am a little bit heedless of the danger from the crows, probably going just beyond Parta's perimeter, and so it's a little bit of a a mess of some crows kind of starting to come down, and the chains are on the leg, and I'm trying to pull off the chain, but is it hot? It feels almost like hot to my hand. I don't know if it is burning Alicio or not, this chain, but I'm struggling with it as I'm on the ground.
Yeah, I think it's the weird hot it's burning you, but it's not hot. It's like an acid burn.
Yeah, and Vero is yelling like directions, like, oh yeah, by the foot. Yes, yeah, great, good job.
I love that.
Vero,
So
Vero, if you're not going to help, then just keep quiet. You're not doing anyone any good.
would Vero turn around to look at the gate and try and maybe figure out a way through the gate? Or is Vero too engrossed with everything going on in front of you?
I feel like Vero is trying to sell the fact that he's he's really trying to be helpful, and that he wants to lean into this story that he can't help it if the ravens are after him or the crows, and so he's maximally trying to sell the story. So
Okay.
I don't think he's looking particularly at the gate.
Okay. I buy that. I think it's annoying, and that is perfectly annoying, and it's great. So I think Rasay will have you do a quick risk roll here. I think. So what are you trying to? What do you hope will happen?
Yeah, I hope that I will be able to get the chains off the leg, but because they are burning me, I think what I would do is to try to remove the chain by holding Alicio's leg and taking my sword and try to pry it. Obviously, there's some risk involved, and I hope it's not Alicio who suffers for it.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's a good justification for the light die as well. I think the thing that could go wrong here, I think this is combat, honestly. Now that this thing, maybe more chains start pulling themselves up out of the hole and latch onto you, and so you're gonna have to fight one of these spirits. Does anybody else have an offer for something that could go wrong here?
I think that, yeah, you're just unsuccessful, and these chains pull Alicio back, maybe fully into the hole. Maybe it's like, halfway in, right? And it becomes just even more difficult to recover from that.
I don't think that it would be unreasonable that Vero would, or I'm sorry, Alicio. I've been talking about Vero too much. That Alicio would lash out in his confusion and stuff like that with his big old badger claws or whatever they are.
I like that. I love that. Jan, do you have anything, or are you?
No, I have a devil's bargain, I think, but I think I like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have your first light die of what devil's bargain. We'll start with Jan because you said you had some.
Yeah, it's actually funny as it just literally slipped out of my mind. So you're gonna go the other way, and then I'll hopefully I'll remember by then.
All right. I think the devil's bargain I'm going to offer here is that it is like you had to go outside of this perimeter to get to Elisio, and so you are going to get scratched and pecked, and one of these crows is gonna like pull a chunk out of your face.
I think I remember my devil's bargain. It's that these no matter what these spirit guys. What do we end up calling them again?
Shadows of the Creator.
Shadows of the Creator are actually going to like asunder your soul, and they're going to make away with some small part of your soul, and that's going to cause you to like lose some part of your identity or memory or something like that.
That's a really good one. Mine's far simpler. It's just you're gonna you mentioned like it's hot chains, and you're an errant knight, so I imagine that means you've probably got like some decent gloves that most people probably couldn't afford. And you're gonna burn a hole through those.
Boy, I'm sort of enamored with the chunk of face getting lost, to be honest. Or chunk of soul. I mean, it's a chunk of something, but I think that I think the face one is a good one. I think a nice, scar that maybe, and a wound that needs to be treated will be good. Will be good for Rase. So let's take that.
Okay, yeah. So that's 2 light die. Do you want to include a dark die right off the bat?
No, I think I'll just go with the 2 light and see what happens. All right.
So that's a 6. So
All
that's
right.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So describe what this looks like as you pull Elisio out of this cloud and rip these chains off.
Yeah, so I'm, the chains are they're burning my hands some, so that's when I reach for my sword and I pull my sword out and I start hacking at the chains and trying to get them off. And that's also when the birds start swooping down and start clawing and pecking. And what it is, it's not just like that a single bird gets a piece of the face, but rather that there's a 1 cut, 2 cut, the 3 cuts more on the face, and that at the end that there is a bird that kind of just takes kind of a healthy piece that was established from all of the cuts across the face. So I've got this kind of bloody and slightly open spot on the cheek right around here. But the chains managed to fall in the melee.
Yeah, I love that. So you're hacking away at these chains. I think what happens is you're hacking at the chains and you break one of the links, and then all of the links past that just evaporate. And you manage to pull Elisio up and scramble the 2 of you back into this bubble that is slowly getting smaller as more and more of these birds start pushing in, and Parta can't quite move around fast enough. You guys are getting kind of boxed in here. What is the plan for actually getting in and past this gate?
I think now that he's back, Vera will look at the door, and I think before he does so, he'll be like, "Good work, chaps, we did it." Yeah, and then he'll turn around and hum and haw in this like ostentatious, like highfalutin sort of way, trying to figure out using his high antiquarian knowledge the features of the aforementioned door.
Yeah, so specifically, what are you looking for here?
Well, so I have been portraying Vero as somewhat of an imbecile, but actually, when it comes to antiquarianism, he's been in it long enough that he's managed to actually glean a lot of legit information. So he knows about artifacts, he knows about myths, and I'm wondering if he could put that knowledge to good use, trying to put together the castle, the door, maybe like some knowledge about the history of the place, or rituals that he's heard about, to sort of come up with some kind of hypothesis about how we might get through this thing.
I love that. Yeah, that's good. Cool. So there's your 2 light die. You've got one for exploring the world and one for because you have a skill that you've called out. So why don't you roll 2 light die and see what we get. That's double 6s. Too bad there's not crits in this game. I've been playing enough
Vero is
Fortune.
good at rolling. He's like should be failing way more, but somehow he's managing to get away with this.
Yeah. So you don't discover a terrible thing, and you get to draw a hunt card. So you get to keep that.
How do I do that?
So
just
you
run me
grab
through
the
that.
card out of the deck here, and then you
Okay.
put it in your hand, which is this white bar at the bottom.
Gotcha.
Quick question. So the hunt cards are tokens. Is that correct?
They are for all intents and purposes hunt tokens. You can spend them in the same way, but the main difference is that when you spend them to get a treasure, some part of the imagery of the card is represented in whatever treasure you get.
Gotcha. So just throwing this out there, if we want to spend our tokens to move past this set, I have 2 tokens I can contribute. Ideally, I'd like to keep one of those and get a treasure for myself, but do what we got to do.
So I will say you guys are very close to just being through altogether, because we'll wrap in this hunt roll. So I think that Vero, you don't actually you look up at this door and it is impenetrable. It is barricaded in every manner known to mankind. There are iron pieces that have been welded shut. There is an entire oak tree that is laid across the inside of the door. And unless you are about a foot in diameter, there is no way that you are getting through the cracks in this door. You happen to have heard that there is a fabled secret entrance that is around one of the 2 kind of guard towers that line the gate. And so if you go around the western tower, there might be a door there. You've heard stories about it.
Yeah, so I think the way that Vero conveys that to the party is he'll use like a bunch of mumbo jumbo that sounds like some ancient foreign language, right? Like, because this is part of how he sells things for his sales pitches. And so he'll recite some like poetry sounding ancient mumbo jumbo, like "Manbara munsanta nandare mambarava," and then he'll recall like this fable about how he believes, or how it's been said that there's this secret, and he's going to sell it and make it as as special as you can imagine.
I love that. So how are you guys? So I mean, you guys can move kind of as a bubble if you guys all want to move over to there. You guys get around to the edge of this kind of corner where the tower meets the main wall of the castle, and there doesn't look like there's anything there, at least from first glance. What would you like to do?
Is it like a stone laid wall?
Yeah, it's like these large, like very perfectly sized bricks that are like oddly all exactly the same shape and color and size, and it looks like somebody went in Photoshop and used like the clone tool. It's a little bit disconcerting, but yeah, it's this kind of very plain, rough, but in a weird, consistent way wall.
Parda is going to start pushing on each of the bricks and yelling at Vero, where's the door? You said there's a door. You said there'd be some way out, Vero.
I love that. I think this is a hunt roll. So you get a dice for just exploring things. Do you have a skill or a piece of equipment that you're using here to help you?
I want to help him, I think.
And I have a skill for escape.
I think that tracks. I think you've had to escape from enough situations that you would be able to spot a secret door if there was one.
Right.
So yeah, why don't you roll a hunt roll?
So yeah, how does helping work? Is that just in the risk roll that there's
That
a
is
mechanical?
just in the risk roll.
Oh, okay.
If you were helping in a hunt roll, then maybe you could justify your skill acting as like the skill thing, but you've already got a skill that helps you here. So
Yeah, and Vero, like, to be clear, is trying to save face now, right? Like he's just like, oh, I'm sure it must be here, you know, and he's like,
okay, so that's a 5.
2 and a 5, yeah.
So you get a hunt target, and
Okay.
you encounter something terrible. So I think that the you guys push. You're pushing. Have you handed off the torch to someone else, or are you like
No,
holding it with one hand?
Yeah, one hand flailing to the side while the other one is like
Yeah.
behind me, pushing into the wall, jabbing at these individual bricks.
and Vero is like kind of freaked out by the torch. He's like, he's covered in tar and feathers, so he's just like, oh, get careful with the torch, mate.
Oh yeah, it's definitely that scene, right? Of like the torch like comes over Vera's head and he has to quickly duck, and he stands up, and then it comes back and he has to duck again.
And one of the feathers on your head is burning a little bit.
Yeah. Meanwhile, there's crows surrounding us, and
Yeah. So, Parda, you are swinging wildly, but you manage to look back and you see that one of the bricks is upside down from all the rest of them, and you kind of in confusion like try and push on it, and it does push back, and a kind of an awkwardly shaped chunk of the wall also slides back with it, but it won't budge. It gets stuck, and so the 4 of you have to kind of like heave and shove yourselves into it, and when you do, the other side of this door is revealed as a kind of a drip of blood and kind of liquefied meat falls out from the top of the door onto I think Rasay's head. As you guys continue pushing through this door, to find that it is barricaded by other bodies on the other side that are all kind of rotting and decaying. And you guys manage to push your way through and close the door behind you as you hear the clatter and clang of crows running themselves into the outside of the wall to try and get you. And you have made it out of the first set.
this place is gross.
There's a lot of people here. A lot of people died here. And so the 4 of you kind of awkwardly squeeze your way through this room, which is this very small, tight guard room that almost looks like it was a dumping grounds at one point. It's small, it stinks, it just absolutely reeks, but you guys are able to make it to the thin wooden door on the other side that's rotted away and kind of force it open, and you find yourselves in a large courtyard. This kind of big open air courtyard is full of different colored tents and wagons and what look like full encampments of different nations and different nationalities. One of these groups managed to string up a net over the top of the courtyard to keep the crows away. But you can see that there are crows perched on the kind of the knots of this net and are like clawing down at you, but they can't really get to you in here. And again, this place is just littered with corpses.
And I imagine like crow shit.
And a lot of bird shit.
Just to make it one more degree of disgusting.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like there's any active threats in this area, at least. You're not being chased by crows. You have a minute to catch your breath. Rasay, you put your hand to your face and you've got this stinging wound, probably the size of a one of those big dollar coins that's just been ripped out of the side of your face. And what do you like? The adrenaline is starting to wear off now, and it is really starting to hurt.
Yeah, I want to, if we can, and I'm, so unfortunately I'm a little muffled in my speech, is a little hard to hear, but I'm talking about my numbing herbs that I have on me in my equipment, and that I want to numb my face, and I also have a sewing kit. And I could either walk somebody through a surgery, or I could try to perform it on myself if I could manage, if somebody has a mirror, but I don't have a mirror. But I am absolutely thinking about how this is something that I'm going to need to close up, even if it's going to, mean I'm a little bit disfigured looking. Certainly don't want things dripping, for instance, in my cheek, if we go through any more muck and mire.
Yeah.
Alicio is coming out of his stupor, and he is extraordinarily interested in helping you sew up your face.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I think Vero takes a step to help you, and then instead of helping, he just retches from all this disgusting stuff everywhere, and then he's just like, "Oh, hold on, mate," and then just goes and just retches somewhere in the corner.
Alicio, do you have a mirror?
No, nothing similar to that.
I could try to walk you through it. I almost am tempted to try it myself, to be honest.
Oh, I'll help.
Okay.
You helped me, I'll help you.
All right.
This looks easy.
Yeah, just to take the with this sewing with the needle and the thread.
Okay, I love this. I think this is so. Is Elizio actually doing the sewing?
I think he's going to. Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's going to.
So
Okay,
I think this
all
is
right.
Elizio.
Is Alicio washing his hands before he performs this
Oh
facial
no,
surgery?
Alicio's never washed his hands in his life, I don't think.
Also profoundly unlucky, but I take my sewing kit out. I'm going to take the numbing herbs myself. I don't think I need your help.
I
for
could just
that.
imagine this shot in the TV show version of under his nails. He's got all this stuff, and he's just holding this nail, this. Oh God.
Yeah, it's a sewing kit too. It's not a surgery kit per se, but I do have the surgery skill.
Yeah.
But I'm not the surgeon in this case.
So I think this is a risk roll. I think Elizio is rolling here.
Awesome.
So what do you hope will happen?
Well, I hope that I will mend his wound.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
And what could go wrong here? I think that the thing that could go wrong here is that it is no longer at risk of infection, but it is not a nice surgery job, and you are pretty disfigured from this.
I don't know if this is a risk, like a risk consequence or a devil's bargain, but you ate these, you're chewing on these numbing herbs. Alicio could sew your tongue to your cheek.
I was just totally thinking that exact thing.
I was thinking the same thing actually as well.
Like that exact thing. Oh my God, John.
I mean, if three of us were
boy.
thinking it, that's probably a good sign that that's a possibility.
I think that is definitely on the table here. So you get a die for Rasay's sewing kit. that definitely counts as a piece of equipment that you're using to help you. Risay, are you helping?
Yeah. However, I can't remember the mechanics for help, but I do have that. Like I have the skill, so
Yeah. So the way this works is you roll a light die, and Alicio is going to get another light die on his roll. But if any of the dice match whatever you roll, then you take a ruin from it.
awesome. All right, so I should roll first then, and
Yeah.
then Lucio.
So you
Okay.
just roll. You got a 2, okay. So if any of the dice come up as a 2, then you take 1 ruin. That's how that works. And then Devil's Bargains here. I think the obvious Devil's Bargain is you didn't have as much numbing herbs as you thought you did, and so you use up all of them. I think that's the kind of the obvious one here.
My devil's bargain is from the rest of the campaign. You have to whisper, and if you raise your voice, your stitches pop, and they yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's a devil's bargain for the one that's performing the sewing for the surgery.
Oh yeah.
I like both of those, and Alicio, please choose them if those are the best devil's bargains. But they are both that happen to me.
Right.
So feel free to choose either of those. I was trying to think if there was something that happens between like the sewing kit and your fingers or hands or something like that. But what is this? You're gonna get like poked with a needle. It's hardly a devil's bargain, unless that needle breeds infection and you lose a finger or something like that. But that's a failure. That's not really, that's too faily, you know?
Yeah, no. I think a good devil's bargain could actually be that you prick your finger and a drop of blood lands on the pavement.
Yeah. Or
We
you
don't know
like
what we don't know what that means, but the drop of blood.
I don't know
lands
what
on
that
the
means,
pavement.
but I'm intrigued by it, so I would totally take it.
yeah, I would too.
Do it. Okay. John has seconded this devil's bargain, therefore it is cast in stone.
Okay. I love that.
All right.
So
that's 2 dice?
You get 3 light dice. So you get 1
3
for
light dice.
1 for the piece of equipment that's yours, 1 for the devil's bargain, and 1 for Rasay helping you.
Oh, for the help. Okay. All right, here we go. Oh, I got a 6.
There's a 6.
That's magic.
And none of them are 2s. You guys are rolling really well.
Yeah.
So give us a little bit of fiction. What does this look like as you sew Rasay's face back together?
This kind of sucks because I was really enamored with the idea of sewing his tongue to his cheek. I guess I could always take a dark die and re-roll that, right?
Sure, you could.
I won't. So I think it turns out that for all of his weirdness and sort of like uncomfortable oddities, right? I think it turns out that Alicio is actually an excellent needle worker. And I think that it probably comes from like years and years of doing taxidermy and things, right? He's got like a skinning knife, and he's created, you know, he made this awesome wolf's pelt that he's wearing and stuff like that, right? So I think that like as everyone is sort of holding their breath watching this happen, Alicio kind of like taps on Rasay's face until Rasay stops flinching, so that we make sure that the numbing herbs have taken, and then he just sort of like plops down cross-legged and starts to whistle sort of a jaunty little tune, and just expertly takes this sewing kit and just like in a matter of moments creates a perfect stitch that closes the wound up. And then at the end, he sort of like cuts it with his little knife with a flourish and looks at it like an artist who's just finished his masterpiece and just nods and says, "We're done here."
I love that. That's amazing.
I'm cool.
I love that.
Yeah, and in the background, in a blurry background, you just see like Vero losing his guts.
So the pinprick happens, right? Because that was the devil's bargain.
Yeah.
I need to know.
So I think that you you prick your finger as some part of this. Maybe it's because this isn't like the best needle in the world and you don't have a thimble, and so you just kind of like the back end maybe pokes your thumb a little bit. And this happens as your beast form is slowly like turning back and your hands are kind of reconfiguring and your joints are cracking and your nails are shrinking back into their normal forms. And the drop of blood falls, and we get the scene of the blood falling very slowly on camera, and then it splashes into the pavement and it hisses and steams a little bit. And you see this this like very small swarm of bugs crawl out from under the paving stone and start to like suck at this little puddle until it's all gone, and then these like 5 or 6 bugs crawl back under the paving stone.
And you said we do notice that, or is it the viewer who notices
The
that?
viewer notices that. I don't
Okay.
I don't know that anybody here is aware enough to notice like 3 bugs crawl out from under a rock.
Gotcha. Okay.
So as Vero is finishing up retching in the corner, and I picture he comes up probably wiping his mouth, with a kerchief or something that he has, and he turns and Parda is right there standing in his face and says, "What is this?" And she's pointing back at Alicio. "You didn't tell me you brought one of those on this team."
Sorry, I'm lost. What's this question?
You brought one of those beast people on this expedition?
Oh, okay. So let me just understand this. Like, let's step outside here. So is
Yeah,
the implication that Vero like got this team together?
Yeah, I think we kind of mentioned it last game.
I mean, I threw it out there. I wasn't sure if we had decided on that. But I'm
good
totally
with
okay
it,
with
yeah.
that. Yeah.
I love it. I want Vera to be my boss so bad.
Totally.
All right, great. Yeah. Okay. So yes. So I think what he does is he like drapes his arm over you like in a friendly, casual, sort of conspiring way. It's like, oh yes, just come this way, sir. Let's just speak about this in gentlemen in private. And yeah, and then I think if you'll follow him, we'll hash it out. But I don't know if you want to.
Parda will walk with you and just saying, you said nothing about including a beast person on this team. I the arrangement I thought was that we were all professionals coming here for a purpose, and this is who you've brought. You've put us all in danger.
Yeah. So Vero will always say, it's like, well, yes, of course, that is one way of looking at it. But this particular beast person, well, he's quite skilled. And not only that, but if he were to have an accident, of course, that would mean more treasure for us, of course, right? So there are pros and cons to such things. But perhaps you should be a little bit more open-minded about the possibilities here, my friend. All, of course, in hushed tones, right? Yeah, and then what else would he add to that? I think like yeah, I would say he would probably strike some kind of deal. It's like, well, how about this? If he does, heaven forbid, die during our campaign here, let's say we split his share. Oh, I don't know, 60 for me, 40 for you.
I can't believe you negotiating the split treasure when you've You may have already doomed us all. How cocky are you? Just and I think at this point, like Parda's voice is raising, and imagine it's carrying across this courtyard decently well. Just keep him away from me.
Yeah,
she'll
yeah.
say.
And I think when you like try to change the thing, Vero does this he's a very sly guy, right? So he's gonna be like, well, you racist! How dare you? Eliseo is a fine gentleman. Well, how could you say that about him?
I've said my piece. I don't trust him.
He's like, oh, these speciesists. He's like, oh, well, I have no time for you, good sir.
Parda
And I
just
think
turns and walks off. Yeah.
I think as Parda turns and walks off, that is an excellent spot for our first break. Do you guys good with a quick 5-minute break?
Totally.
Cool. I will see you guys at 5 past. All right, we are back, and I think the camera comes in. We see kind of an over-the-shoulder shot of Pardo walking away. Vero is standing there, kind of bewildered a little bit, and we see that he is standing in front of this large rack of this wooden construction that has manacles and shackles and these barbed iron whips wrapped together, kind of standing behind you. And as you turn back to kind of look at them, they are all covered in blood and kind of heave Vero out a little bit, and you shudder and head back to join the rest of the group. So the set goal for this set is called the Silent Hall. And this set actually contains a significant portion of the interior of the castle. And so the goal of this set is to find the passage to the lower levels. One thing that you guys notice as you are standing in this courtyard and looking up at the castle is very tall. Like it's difficult to judge size from the bottom of the hill just based on how big the walls were, but this castle is probably 20-30 stories high, which is enormous for a castle. And most of that height is this one central tower that has a giant kind of a bell. I don't know what the actual room is that the bell kind of lives in, but you can see this giant brass bell that is a little bit kind of cockeyed out of the windows of this building, standing high above you. And we've kind of established what Eliseo and Rasay are doing. Parda, do you walk back and join the rest, or do you head off to kind of investigate this area a little bit more?
Yeah, no, Parda kind of heads in our own direction. I think you said there's some tents and prior encampments here, and so Parda's gonna wander those, poking her head into the various tents, looking to see if there's anything that's been left behind that might be worth grabbing.
Yeah, I love that. So you start making your way across this courtyard, looking in some of the tents. You get a glimpse of the end of the courtyard where there's this big doorway that the door still stands there and would be closed if it were not for the giant gaping hole in the center that was clearly blown out by some kind of cannon or a siege weapon. But the whole center of this like 25 by 25 foot door is been blown out, and so getting into the castle or getting farther into the castle should not be difficult if you choose to move on. But you take your time, you start poking around in these tents, and so I think this is a hunt roll to investigate the scene. Do you have a skill or a piece of equipment that you think is going to help you in the situation?
I do not think I have one at the moment. No.
So, do you want to pull something out of your bag, or do you want to roll the 1 die?
You know what? I'm just going to go with the 1 die.
Okay. And that's a 6. You're rolling
6.
really well. So on a 6, you get a card, and you do not encounter anything terrible. Which are you?
I am Parda.
Okay.
4.
So, because it is showing that you have no cards right now.
I have 3.
It is showing that Jan has 3 cards. I'm not sure. Let me refresh my page. Maybe it's green.
I see the same thing. I see a 0 next to my name. So I'm not sure about that.
I definitely only have 1 card, so I'm not.
It's very possible that all of the seats got mixed up. So if you guys want to stand up from the seats and then sit back down, you can do that, and it might fix them.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, because I have the user icon is by 2. How do you stand up?
You click on the
this?
dots and then
See.
choose stand up.
I don't see stand up. I just see remove player from seat.
Yep, remove player from seat, and then you just sit back in the. You should be able to click sit here.
Okay, I see. So yeah, I had 3. This will actually be my 4th, so I'm just going to go ahead and turn this one in for some treasure.
Okay, I think you do find some treasure here. So you head into this tent, and you pick this one because it seems to have more like it's not as it's not as grimy as the other ones. There's a lot of tents here that look like they were just kind of like bedding tents for various kind of knights and low level soldiers, but this one seems to be a little grander. It's a kind of a looks almost like a planning tent or a war tent or something like that. And so you make your way inside, and there is a large circular table set out in the middle of this tent with a skeleton draped out over the top of it. And you are poking around in this tent, and you notice that there is actually a book under the skeleton.
I'll kind of pick up the bones lightly after having seen what the corpses outside did, and with due respect, move them to the side, and then slide the book out from under it.
I think you're if you've got like a stick or you've got your torch that you were using.
Yeah, I've got that torch. Yeah, you
can kind of like poke the skeleton off of the book and get the book by yourself. I want to ask Rasay what your order's symbol actually is. I don't think we've established that yet.
Yeah, I think it is like a lion and an eagle, but it is split. So when you're looking at the symbol, like the back and left kind of side, like of the body is like a lion with the tail and the mane and all that, and the front reaching out is sort of like like a wing sort of a thing, and it's just sort of a basic crest, but it's divided down the center, and it's two animals.
That's fun. I like that. And so I don't know that Parda would necessarily identify that symbol right off the bat, but that is emblazoned on the front of this this journal or this book.
I think it'd be really interesting if maybe, Rassi in his, his knight's attire, maybe it has that symbol somewhere, and Parda does recognize it, and I'll grab this book thinking, maybe this is worth something more to Rasai than what I can sell it for back in town. I don't know, but I'll stick it in my bag for now. If I flip through it, is it like a history of the order or something like that?
So I think there is definitely like a long-standing account of this scholar. I think it's like this. It clearly looks like the journal of some archivist or records keeper, and so most of it is very dry and kind of just like anniversaries and births and deaths and the comings and goings of the order. But near the end, you get to the kind of section that is pertaining to this castle, and it looks like they did a decent job of recording their findings.
Good to know. I'll make note of that. Yeah, stuff it in the sack.
So you have that. You can do that with that as you want. What card did you actually draw?
Oh, you know what? So I didn't draw one since I knew I was going to turn it in. So let me go ahead and draw, and then I can tell you. And I don't know tarot cards, so
If you want to put it on the table, you can flip it up and you can look at it. It's the
Page of Pentacles.
So I love this very like innocent and hopeful figure in this situation. And so I think that you're like peeling through the back of the book and you find one passage that you find, and I think the passage goes something like, on our way through the upper halls, the page Jean was investigating some of the portions of the wall that appeared to be seating. There were manacles and shackles, and the page was curious of the interactions and managed to somehow lock themselves to the wall. And despite our best efforts, we were unable to free him. We will go back tomorrow with some food in an attempt to release his bonds, but Jorah has stayed with to make sure that he is safe.
And Parda's thoughts drift to the beast person just across the courtyard, thinking, perhaps, if need be, there is a way to restrain them if it comes to that.
Very fun. Rasei and Eliseo, you guys have kind of finished up your medical work here. What do you two want to do now that you have an opportunity to look around this courtyard?
It's like we look at each other and don't speak for a minute. I'm very grateful. I don't want to, out of character, I don't want to just repeat what John has done, but I feel like with all of these encampments, I would be looking around too. Like, honestly, that would be what, Rasei's first instinct would be after thinking, oh, cool, you feel the numbness is wearing off a little bit. It's still raw. but I would want to look around and look in these tents, for better or worse.
Yeah, I like that. So yeah, why don't we do another quick hunt roll here? So you've got 1 die for exploring. Do you have a skill or a piece of equipment that you want to use to help you out here?
You know, I have no skills that help with the hunt. And I cannot think of what I may pull from my gear.
You're more than welcome to just roll the 1 die. See what happens.
Yeah, I think that somebody else rolled 1 die and took the 6. So I feel I need to, look at, I would say that perhaps if there's anything that would require opening with a pickaxe, I would draw that from my equipment. Or
Okay.
is that okay? All right.
No, yeah, that
I'll do
tracks.
that.
I love that. So you're like looking for
All
like
right.
if you see a chest or something, and
Let's
just kind
open
of
up some
pry it open.
chests. Yeah.
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 Very, very Dark Souls. Yeah. So why don't you roll 2 dice?
All right.
So there's a 6 in there.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, you get
That
to
was
draw
on
a card here.
awesome.
Yeah, you're specifically looking for like supplies and equipment and stuff that you've found. And I think along the right side of the this courtyard, you're going through these tents, and a lot of them are again these like just kind of like bedding and lots of like moldy hay, to the point where if you guys wanted to rest here, there's more than enough place for you guys to take a nap and hang out here for a little bit if you really wanted to. But you're not interested in that right now. You're poking around. You're trying to find stuff. And I think that you come to a one of these tents that you can tell that there's a couple of boxes that have been pried open already. They are full of what looks like moldy food, and some like arrows that the shafts have completely rotted out. But there are a couple of boxes in the back that haven't been opened yet. So you're kind of curious. What does it actually look like when you're taking this pickaxe to these chests?
Yeah. So I am careful to not damage the contents, but I pull this chest out, and then I actually use the pickaxe instead of swinging down. I use it to jam kind of into the lid and to prise it open that way, just to pop the top off as carefully as I can, but with enough force to open the lid and begin to rummage around.
I love that. And so you pry open one of these, and it's got a lock that is significantly beefier than some of these other chests, and you're a little bit surprised, but you're able to pry it open and crack the rotting wood around the lock. And inside you find a bed of straw with a pair of manacles on top of the bed of straw. The manacles themselves look fairly ordinary. There's not a like keyhole, which is a little strange. But the chain that connects them is this fine gold linked chain that seems like it would be kind of a pointless thing to use because it looks like you could just snap it with 2 fingers. But that's what's in that chest.
It's unusual and almost decorative. I'm certainly going to take it.
Yeah, you're more than welcome to take it. Do you do anything special with it, or do you just pick it up and put it in your bag?
I'm going to pick it up. I'm not going to touch the chain, oddly enough. I don't know if better or worse, but I would pick it up by the ends of the manacles and kind of delicately put it in my pack.
Okay. You can mark down that you have that.
Awesome.
If you want to maybe ask Vera what it is, maybe the antiquarian would know better about what it is, but we're more than welcome to keep it hidden if you wish.
Yeah, I'm not going to share with the boss just yet.
I love it. Vero, you know that this place houses greater treasures within. Are you gonna stick around here and try and uncover some of what's here and what's laid out, or are you gonna try and go deeper?
Yeah, so I think Vero, I mean, obviously part of him wants to just grab some treasure, but he I think he thinks that, like, the real goodness is somewhere deeper. So I'm gonna walk towards that gaping hole in the doorway,
Mhm.
and I'm just gonna like point at it like this. I think perhaps this might be the way, chaps. And I step to it. Can I see much far through it, or?
Yeah, I think that there's enough light coming in. I think this is actually a very grand hallway. There's uh, these big windows that are kind of set above the door that let in a pretty decent amount of light, even though the crows are still obscuring a lot of the sun at this point. But you look into this hallway, and it is a lavishly decorated entry hall. There is this big velvet red rug that extends all the way down into the farther into the room, and these two kind of curving staircases go up and around and lead to an upper balcony. And there are these big murals that are painted along the walls. The only other thing that kind of mars the view, besides the decay and the dust that has settled everywhere, are these hanging pods that hang down from the ceiling. They're these 4-5 foot long, 2 foot diameter, kind of oblong silk cocoons that hang down from the ceiling.
That doesn't read well. So I think what Vero's gonna do is he's gonna take off his backpack and he's gonna struggle with it, because I think the tar has like sealed it to his. So he's like, and there's like long strings of tar, and then I imagine just like this like feathered being with these two unstriped feathered areas, like just perfectly left over from his backpack, and he opens it up, and he pulls out some glass marbles, and he's going to like throw one and kind of hide and like peek to see if something happens. And if he gets away with one, he's just gonna like test the danger of the room, and like if none of those do anything, he's gonna get bold and then maybe like chuck one at one of these oblong things. You're
I'm
muted.
muted. I love that. I think you're making a hunt roll here because you're asking questions about the world.
Via the marbles.
So yeah, you've got one hunt die from investigating and one for using a piece of equipment. So that's 2 dice.
Vero can't lose, baby.
That's
Hot
another
streak, hot
6.
streak.
So yeah, take a hunt token.
Heck yeah. This is why you select me as your leader, guys, right here.
Yeah, so you start chucking these marbles, and I think that the first one you chuck it in, and there's like a tap tap, and then nothing, and then you look back and you're a little confused because you don't see the marble anywhere, and you throw another one in, and there's like a tap tap, and then tap tap tap, nothing, and then you look back in, and you toss the third one in. You're actually watching it this time, and it bounces twice, and then when it hits one of the edges of these kind of tiles that make up the floor, the tile actually shifts a little bit and the marble just rolls and falls down into something or nothing.
Very cool.
I feel like Elisio is probably following up behind Jero at this point, unless Elisio has something else that they want to do.
I did call
No,
over
I
to
think-
everyone.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think Elisio would follow Vera. Sure.
You probably are very confused why Vero is throwing marbles into this room, but you do probably see that last one at least. So you've got this bit of information.
Yeah, and I think if he sees it, I look at him slyly and try to like really sell how cunning I am.
Yeah, so Elisio is definitely going to like meet your eyes for a few moments and then he's going to just nod very sagely in agreement with you, knowing absolutely nothing about what you're trying to communicate.
So what do you want to do? You can also look into this room and you see these hanging like chrysalises from the ceiling.
Yeah. Is there any way to get up to them?
I want to say that they're probably like 10, 15 feet off the floor. They're all hanging at different heights. So I think that there's one that's low enough that you could definitely like poke at it with something if you've got a long stick or something.
Okay.
Or a sword.
I
or a
don't really,
spear.
but I'd like to like maybe examine them from a different angle or something like that. So like, is there any of is there one of them that's like close enough to like a wall or something? I can maybe do some climbing and see if I
You
can
also
get
have
a
these-
different view.
Yeah, you've got these stairs that go up that you could definitely go
Oh.
up to the balcony and then you'd be either on level or above some of
I guess I could do something as plebeian as stairs.
them.
Sure. Alicio will ascend the staircase to see if we can see kind of like what else might be around in this area and like how these things are attached to the ceiling and that sort of thing.
And I think Vera would warn you about the floor if he didn't think that you already knew about it, considering your reaction to his look. So I think like it just assumes that you understand that there's the floor is trapped.
I love it. So if you want to give me a hunt roll.
Yeah, I would love to. Let's see. So I'm looking for like a skill or something that would apply
so
to the
if you have a
situation, I guess.
skill or a piece of equipment that would help you here.
Right. I don't really know that I do at this point. I think so. I think Alicio understands that these things are, that these things are cocoons, and they probably have something that is not friendly inside them or whatever. Like I feel like that's pretty obvious, and he's not so much of an idiot that he wouldn't realize that. So I think maybe he's trying to be very stealthy about this. Like he's doing sort of like an exaggerated creep. So I would like to roll with my surprise, if that's all right.
Yeah, I think that tracks. I think you're trying to like sneak up on them.
Okay.
I would have also said acrobatics makes sense if you're trying to avoid the traps in the floor.
Okay.
So I either one of those tracks. I love this surprise kind of sneaky angle that you're going for. Yeah. So roll 2 dice.
Okay. 2 dice. Here we go. Give me a Vero roll.
So that's a 4. So you get a hunt card and you encounter something terrible.
Perfect. Just what I wanted.
So
Hunt card.
you make your way into the room, and it sounds like you're trying to like hug the wall, avoid getting too close to any of these things. And you are making your way up probably the right stair as you make your way up and around, and you can't help but notice the mural on the wall behind you that is these bizarre images. Like normally these murals are like you've been in castles before, you've got this lover, and so you've kind of at least visited a castle once, and usually all of the decorations are things like knights and people slaying dragons and things like that. And instead, this this mural is a howling black storm leading into a snarling dog, and then a boulder cracked in half by a bolt of lightning, a slime covered river, a pit full of boiling blood, and then a twisted and mangled corpse. And so you start to kind of like you're getting a little bit distracted by um, this bizarre mural that you're pulling up alongside, and it might distract you. You might just catch out of the corner of your eye as one of the closer pods just kind of shifts a little bit. You start to make your way up and around it.
Okay. So I think Aliso is gonna like freeze, right? And he is going to try to catch Vero's eye. I don't know if Vero's like actually watching him or if he's become distracted by something else, but he's gonna like try to catch Vero's eye, and he's gonna point to the cocoon that moved. And if Vero doesn't seem to understand, then he's gonna be like,
I love the idea of like Vero giving you exactly the same thing that you gave for him, just like, yeah, great, and like has no idea what you're talking about.
okay, it's good. Okay. So like Vero
we're
gives him the
both
thumbs
on
up.
this. We think we're both on the same page, but we're both in different books.
In different books, right? Right. So Vero gives him basically the thumbs up, and Alicio figures that that's good, and he's going to continue moving up the stairs, I think.
Okay. Rasay and Parda, you guys have kind of finished going through the junk that is outside. Most of it is rusted scrap and broken metal, but you do manage to find a couple of small trinkets that might be useful, and have made your way and are now standing behind Vero. What would you like to do? I think I'm going to offer this up to Parda because you probably arrived first.
I think if I can actually, I'd catch Rasai on the way up to Vero at this opening, and I just kind of stop him and put a hand on his shoulder and say, let me have a look at it. Let me see. Oh yeah, that's not too bad. Do be careful though with that one. You and I think we need to have each other's backs in this. I'm not sure that we can fully trust our companions.
He did great work. I don't have reason to distrust him yet.
Just keep an eye on him. Let's go see what trouble they're getting themselves into now.
Sounds like a plan.
Yep. I also noticed that Gerald, you put your hunt card back. You get to keep that.
I wrote a little question for myself and then I put it back. But yeah, okay, cool.
No,
Sure.
you did a thing that it narratively got you a treasure, and so you didn't need to actually spend a card to get that.
All right, cool.
I love, just like as a setting kind of note here, that here we have Vero, who's like extremely distrustworthy, and Alicio, who's just great. And from like the world context perspective, like the xenophobia and the fear of magic is so high that like the focus is on this shapeshifter rather than this like double two-faced guy who's hoping that everyone dies so he can pick their pockets.
Such is life.
So I think as we make our way up behind Vero. We probably arrive right about that time. Vero's giving that false assurance back to Alicio, and Parda will just peek her head around the corner, see these cocoons, and say, "What's he doing?"
Yeah, I'll go like, shh. Careful of the floor, lads. It's trapped. Watch Alicio. He seems very capable here.
So, Alethio, you make your way up around to the top balcony, where I think that there is this pile of mangled bones in one corner. Half of them look human, but a lot of them look like horse bones or some kind of larger beast of burden that died, and somehow its bones got mangled up here. But there is also a large, very ornate door that is behind you. This door is a kind of emblazoned with two what look like kings or members of royalty that are holding these staves up, and the staves make up the two handles of the door that you can pull and open up this large kind of oaken double doors if you wanted to do that.
Yeah, I've got a quick procedural question.
Mhm.
So I got a hunt token earlier. Do I, if I wanted to convert that hunt token into treasure, do I have to do that at that time, or can I convert it into treasure at any time?
You could say right now, I go and look in the bones and I spend this token and I get treasure in the bones whenever
Awesome.
you
Okay,
want to.
great. Okay, cool. So kind of my goal initially here was to sort of get like a different perspective on this room from here, and so like I feel like I'm in a position where I can do that now. Do I notice anything different up here that I wouldn't have noticed down where everybody else is now watching me?
Yeah,
With
I think
strangely concerned looks on their faces, even though this is all very simple.
Yeah, I think that from the perspective that you have, you're able to look down at the tile floor, and you actually see that those same cracks that were out on the hill seem to also be underneath these tiles, and you can see that the same kind of like solid sections where the tile really is only being supported by one or two little points. But if you were to step on them wrong, you would probably fall into one of these crevices. So you can kind of map out the shapes in the floor below you. Looking at the pods from above doesn't really get you that much more information. You can kind of see that they are in fact tethered to the ceiling somehow. They've got these big, like almost like 4-inch thick silk cables that lash them to the big beams that hold up the ceiling.
And how much further above my head are those beams right now? Like, am I near them, or?
I would say that they're probably 15, 30, like 20, 30 feet above you. So if you had, so if you had a ladder or something, then you could probably get up to them.
Okay.
Or if you wanted to like climb the wall, it wouldn't be that long of a climb, I guess, but it'd still be tough.
Yeah, that seems ill-advised for no real benefit. Okay, so I think Elisa is going to kind of like take it all in for a second, and then he is just going to sort of flash everyone else a thumbs up, and then he's going to go through the door. Okay.
So, this is a different set.
Oh, okay.
So, if this room is a new set. This room is the Cracked Throne. So I actually forgot to put out the last cards. So the set card for the Silent Hall is the Hanged Man, and the set card for the Cracked Throne is Justice. It's this one.
And remind me what that is. Is that just thematic?
It's just a thematic card that kind of encapsulates the themes of that particular set.
So how does this work mechanically now if I have moved on to another set? Like, do we all have to sort of agree to move on to a new set,
Nope.
or no?
It,
Like
it's
I
so
just exist in a different set and then I can come back to this set maybe and
yeah, you guys
just
can move back and forth. It's like rooms in a dungeon, but
Okay.
the difference the difference is that the set goal in the Cracked Throne is to learn something of the creator and his minions.
Okay.
And so I'll give you a quick description here. So the Cracked Throne, you've opened this door into a very clearly a throne room. There is the kind of the red velvet carpet extends into the room where these huge marble pillars hold up a ceiling far above you. There are rows and rows of individual seats that line the walls of this room. Each seat has a pair of shackles and manacles on the arms and feet, as if somebody who would sit there would be bound to sit there until someone came and let them free. At the far end of the room is a raised dais with 3 thrones on it. The one in the center is clearly much larger than the other 2. It is an imposing mass of solid angular stone that stands atop this dais and is starkly contrasted to all of the opulence and grandeur of everything else in this room. The throne to its right is much smaller and is made of oak and is completely empty. The throne on the left has a figure in it. And even though this throne is smaller, the figure is massive. The figure is probably 15 feet tall if it were to stand up, but it is a stone statue that seems to be sitting in this throne. It has a huge crack that goes through half of its face. It is wearing a golden crown on top of its head and has a massive executioner's sword laid across its lap.
Oh, this seems safe. Yeah. Okay.
Behind the dais, you can see that there are the entire back wall is covered in bookshelves. There are what seem to be manuscripts, documents, and in the center of the back is a set of stairs that look like they go up.
Okay. So if there's one thing Alicio knows, it is that books are not treasure. So I think that he is going to go and sort of like this is obviously a place of deep reverence. Like he understands what a throne room is, and he understands that one has to be very careful how they behave in a throne room, right? So he's going to kind of like straighten up, and he's going to like become as presentable as he can, even though there's nobody here obviously who's watching him, but like this is how one acts in a throne room, right? And then I think that he's going to just like sort of nervously try to make his way across to the dais where the thrones are, and assuming he gets there without incident, he's going to kind of like peek around himself to make sure everyone's watching, and he's going to sort of sniff around for some treasure out there.
Okay, so I think we'll get to the you start walking down this hallway. You start kind of glancing around, and you look to your right, and one of these chairs has a skeletal figure still in it. One of their hands is shackled to the seat, and they have another figure that is clinging to their legs, refusing to let go even in death. Then we are going to hop back to the other group. The 3 of you have just seen Elisio disappear down the balcony. I think you guys can see the tops of the doors open and then close behind him. What do the 3 of you want to do?
So I think Parda turns to Vero and says, "Is that the way, Vero? Should we be going after him?"
Yeah, and Vero very confidently be like, yes, Alicia was showing us the way. So we just have to retrace his steps. I think I remember his path. Perhaps, to avoid this traps, perhaps we should hold hands or tie a rope to each. Does anyone have a rope?
A rope? What are you so concerned about? I saw him. He walked up there and walked through the doors. It'll be fine. And Parta's gonna step into the hallway, and it's a staircase, Vero. Really, you don't have to be
and
so
I think
nervous.
Vera's gonna try to start explaining to you the like trap thing, but he's so long-winded that I think he's just like, well, you see that the marble and then it rolled, and well, first it went to the right, and like I just imagine you like halfway through the room by the time he gets to the point.
Yeah.
I love that. Are you trying to be particularly sneaky here, or are you just like charging into the room, Parta?
I wouldn't describe it as charging. I don't think it's the same care that Alicio spent, since Parta kind of came at the end. It seemed like, from her perspective, well, Alicio, clearly just walked up the stairs and went into the room. So
Okay.
I'll do the same.
So
He's
I
not
think
smart enough to look for traps or anything. He's clearly barged up there.
He
Yeah,
cleared
I
the
love it.
way. If there were traps there, then they'd be gone.
I love it. So I think this is a risk roll, honestly. So it sounds like what you hope is going to happen is that you're going to get through the room without trouble.
Yep. So
The thing that I'm going to say as what can go wrong is you make too much noise and one of these cocoons opens up. Does anybody else have a thing that they want to offer as what can go wrong here?
You said that not all of the floor could hold weight.
Mhm.
Is that so? Parta could have a misstep.
Get stuck in the floor, yeah. Vero, Alicio, do you guys have ideas?
I'm pretty invested in seeing what comes out of a cocoon, so I'm totally down with that one.
Yeah.
I also just want to say, John, I've never wanted to see someone roll badly more than I do right now.
I definitely want to see the
Give
cocoon.
me this. Give me this.
Okay. And Devil's Bargains here. I think the Devil's Bargain could be that. Oh, I've got a Devil's Bargain. The door is locked behind Elisio. Does anybody else have one?
I could see the cocoon opening as a devil's bargain too, which is you get across.
Yeah, so you managed to get all the way across, but it still opens anyway.
Yeah. But
Yeah, in
that's-
that case, yeah, the failure state would then be like you get stuck halfway or something like that. But it's going to open no matter what.
I think an interesting devil's bargain might be that Parda becomes deeply ashamed for underestimating Alicio.
I'm gonna shun that choice right now.
Cut it out. Nope.
I quite like the idea that the cocoon's gonna open.
Okay, I like that. I'm good with that.
That's gonna progress. So sorry, go ahead.
So that changes the failure state, right? The failure state is now that
So we
that Parda.
one of the offerings was that you get stuck in one of these cracks halfway across, and so I think that that makes the most sense in this case. So
it could also be something to do with whether or not she notices it opening, right? Like,
yeah, that tracks.
that part.
Nice.
Do you have a skill or a piece of equipment or some part of the environment that you're using to help you here?
Has Alicio's crossing left any sort of signs, tracks that could be followed to maybe signal which like which stones he stepped on versus not. That might help indicate where is safe to walk.
There might be
Maybe.
bird poop footprints.
I think there's enough dust in here that maybe that tracks. Do you have like a justification for why you would be noticing that? Because you specifically called out that you weren't like caring about. You were just like, oh yeah, Eliseo got through this, no problem.
Right, and I meant that in the sense of he's found the safe path, so
Okay.
we just need to follow his path, right? Not that there's no danger here, but just do what he did.
I think
So
that tracks.
at least that's the way part is going. Whether or not you want to rule that as actually using the environment, I'll leave that in your hands.
I'm good with it. I want to see what happens here. So that is 2 light die. Want to go ahead and roll them?
Cocoon.
And then dark die. Oh, sorry, no, not dark die.
You don't have a
Devil's
dark die
Bargains is a light die. Yeah.
Yep.
All
That is
right,
2
2
5s.
fives.
So you
John.
So the complication here. So you managed to get to the staircase without triggering any of these or like falling into any of these cracks. You managed to kind of track Eliseo's path around the edge of the room and not fall into anything. But you're not quite as stealthy as Eliseo is, or as quiet-footed. And so as you're making your way around, you kick like a rock or something out of the wall, and it goes skittering down the floor, cracks a tile that shatters, and you look up, and the cocoon that is kind of closest to this side of the wall starts to wriggle and split, and a torrent of pink goo spills out of the hole of liquefied flesh as bones and a skeleton all fall out of this cocoon, and legs start to peek their way out of the hole. A pair of mandibles the size of a dinner plate peels itself out of this cocoon as a centipede the size of a small horse pulls itself out of this cocoon and starts to wrap itself up and around on this silken pole that's holding it to the ceiling. And it's between you and where Eliseo went. So the complication here is that you haven't gotten past it yet. You are welcome to add a dark die and try and roll again.
Goodness.
Either way, the other 2 are still in the doorway.
Yeah, I think we'll let it ride, and it's
Okay.
going to be us 3 versus mandible centipede.
Okay. And that is going to happen when we get back from our second break. I am interested in a little bit longer break. If you guys are okay with that, be back at 8, 10 after. Sound good, you guys? Cool. See you all in a little bit. All right, we are back. And I think we are going to start off with a shot of Parda looking up at this massive centipede-looking creature as it crawls out of its cocoon, pink ooze still dripping out of the bottom of this chrysalis that it pulled itself out of, and falling to the floor below where it smashes through some of these tiles. And you hear sobbing from behind you, next to you. It's hard to tell exactly where. It kind of echoes a little bit in this big empty chamber. But amongst the skittering, you can definitely make out the sounds of a woman sobbing. Biro and Rasay, you don't hear that. Um, I'm gonna toss this over to Vero and Rasei actually, because I think you guys can definitely see all of this going on. What is your first reaction here?
My first reaction is to let Rasei react.
With Rasei in front of you?
I was waiting for
Not quite
time for
yet.
you to go, Rasei.
Yeah. I think
Good impression.
I think maybe Vero's gonna like make it seem like he hasn't noticed. Like I think he might be like looking off to the side, like giving the impression that he hasn't seen what's happened yet.
Rasei senses that Vero's looking askance is somewhat play acting this time around, but is going to go ahead and try to help Parda out with the centipede, and also Rasei knows that everybody else is crossing this. It's we've all got to do it, and so I am gonna come on, Vero, let's do this. And if you follow, you follow.
Yeah. I mean, Vero will follow, but he's gonna be slow to follow. He's like gonna give like a good few beats to see like what this thing is capable of, so that if he needs to turn around and freaking run away, he's definitely in a position to do that.
Okay. So Rasei, you rush in, carefully avoiding anything in the issues on the floor.
Yes. A careful rush, keen
Careful
forensic
rush.
eye, looking for dust.
Part of this thing is you've got a second where it's still kind of wrapped up in this cocoon where you could do something. What is your drive here? Are you interested in eliminating this thing as a threat? Are you interested in just getting past it? Are you interested in trying to scare it off, avoid it? What do you hope to get out of this?
I think clearing the path is priority one. So driving it off, great. But if it means having to kill it, that's fine too. So I think part of probably, you said it's still kind of like unfurling itself from the ooze and the cocoon bits that I guess dropped down with it. And I think Parda reaches down. She's still holding the torch in one hand and reaches down with her other, and draws her dagger, and then like starts to move forward, and kind of having the dagger down in a downward position, and like looking for maybe like what looks to be the head, where maybe there's some eyes, or maybe like a soft underbelly where you can just kind of make a quick strike. And yeah,
Can I pause you right there? I just wanted to check in because I think there's like a harm to animals ask first, and I'm not sure if this counts for that.
That's a great question. I'm okay with harming the giant centipede, but yeah, no,
I put that in there, and usually that is like excessive harm to domestic animals is the issue, and this is neither domestic nor excessive in this case, I think. So I think we're good.
Cool. So yeah, just gonna move forward and look for maybe there's a quick easy strike to make at the moment, and maybe that will drive it away,
Okay.
or at least do some damage.
I like that. I think this is I think this might be combat here, because I do want to engage this mechanic and see what we can do with it. So it sounds like Rasei and Parda are probably the two that are involved right off the bat. Maybe Vero shows up in round 2. And Eliseo would probably hear noise behind you even if it is muffled through the door, depending on how loud this gets. So you might come in at a later point. So when we attempt to defeat a monstrosity, the first thing that Rasay and Parda are going to do is describe how you expose yourself to injury or attack.
Yeah, so for Parda, I mean, she's getting up close, right? It's a dagger and a torch. Neither has a real long reach, so definitely going to have to get within striking distance of those mandibles.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Rasay is actually coming in late, so to speak. So I'm overly concerned that with my sword, I'm not going to hit Parda. So I'm in some ways my technique is more clumsy than normal and is sort of stilted. So I think that is going to expose like a flank or something like that in trying to just not go in there and kind of like hack away.
Okay, I like that. So each of you are now going to roll a single light die, and this is what is called your weak point, and this is kind of representing that fictional kind of vulnerability that you've had, and so you've got a 1 and a 2, which are not bad as far as it goes. So all right, so Jan has 5 for when you join in. And so you take a dark die for each treasure hunter and roll all of them together. And so it sounds like Parda is probably the one that's leading this. So John, if you want to roll 2 dark die to engage this thing.
That is a 9 total.
That is a 9 total. So as you push forward towards this thing, it doesn't lash out at you like you expect. It turns. So I love this image of maybe it like falls to the ground under this cocoon, and you're rushing at it, and it tries to skitter away from you. It is fleeing in a sense, but it turns and its mandibles open and it spits a jet of this silk right in your face. And the 2 of you do manage to take it out. But how does Parda take it out, even though you've got this big like head of sticky, almost like spider silk covering your face?
I think that perhaps as we rush in and this jet of silk comes in, Parda is initially blinded and stutters backwards, at which point Rasai comes in with his sword and night training. And then you see Parda just, take a hand and like this heavy, stringy goop pull it away from her eyes. And as it's kind of being pushed back by Rasai, she'll flank it from the side and just bring the dagger up and underneath and then cut down the belly.
Yeah, and I think all the while Vero's giving directions from the back, like, on your left, lad, on your right.
Oh boy. Yeah, and I think that yeah, what is Rasai doing to hold this thing down as part of?
Yeah, I mean, I think just as described, but from my perspective, I see Parda step back and pull away, and that's when I step in, and it is, the sword dueling motions, but it's and going with its skittering, it is like it's coming back, so I'm pressing forward a little bit, and then just Parda works her way around.
Yeah, I love that as you stick the knife under this thing's head and kind of like pop the carapace of this thing, and bits of bug and muck start to spill out. And I think this like acidic burning smell hits your face as this kind of pink goo like regurgitates from whatever digestive system this thing has. And it shudders a little bit and does the like legs curl up and curls into a ball. And you two have a moment to catch your breath as part as wiping the gunk off of your face.
Yeah, and then I think Vero comes in and gives it like a couple stabs.
And as you're standing there, the ground starts to rumble and shake, and you guys are thrown momentarily off balance as you kind of cling to the walls, and all the pods start to like swing above you, and you see another one of these cracks open up on the other side of the room as tiles just fall into the abyss below.
Does the sound of the crying woman end, or is that, do I still hear that?
That was like a quick thing.
Okay.
So the three of you are now facing a large set of doors that are underneath the balcony. So these are not the doors that Alicia went into. These two are these kind of like they are also very ornate, but not nearly as ornate as the giant kingly figures. These are covered in cornucopias and all kinds of different delicacies and foods. And the two doors are kind of swinging loose on their hinges from this small earthquake. And you can see a banquet hall behind them.
Is the banquet hall set? Like, is there food
No,
and
so
stuff out?
is I got mixed up because the set mechanic is a thing.
No, yeah.
No, it is the same set, but the banquet hall does not look set. It looks like it's been ransacked. Is the best term. But you guys are past the worst of the crags and cracks, and so you could realistically go through that door without much trouble. Or you could continue making your way back up and potentially get in more trouble with these cocoon centipedes.
Yeah, I think probably Vero suggests that we yeah, it's like well, narrow escape, lads, but we should probably make our way back towards Alicio, seeing as he's all alone. Or say, you should lead us. You've been stalwart so far in your capacities.
I love that. Before we move too much further, John, you get to name these things.
Oh gosh. I've got centipede stuck in my head, but I don't want to call it a centipede because that's our thing. I don't know. I'm open to suggestions from Vera or Rasai.
Yeah, I feel like if we were naming them, like, when like fictionally, are we literally naming them, or is like a group we're deciding like what we want to call this in the story?
That is up to you guys. The kind of assumed section is that you as the players are deciding what these things have always been called.
I'm so into the idea of like somebody in the future finding like Vero's notes of this expedition and like the really wild names that he's come up for these things, like these ultra dramatic names and like exaggerated descriptions and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like in that vein, like, oh, I feel like there must be some like highfalutin Latin equivalent, or I guess it's already Latin, but Latin in like our story world of like million feet, you know, or like a billion, like a gigaplex of feet, snake, and like some kind of serpent thing. So let me see. Let me put this together.
Yeah, I like where you're going, and I'm thinking like it probably translates to something like 100 million-footed silk spitter.
Yeah, but I want to. It's got to like silk spitter doesn't sound dangerous enough. It's got to be like serpent, you know, like
Yeah.
mythical serpent or something. Yeah, what would you call it? What about like a centurion serpent?
I like it.
That's
I'm good with that.
fantastic. I love that. So yeah, you
And
can
added.
cool. Rasay, let's give Rasay. You get to roll 8 gold dice. And so the way this works is you roll gold dice are just 6-sided dice. You can use the regular d6s, and then for every 6 you get a treasure as you carve something off of this monstrosity you've defeated.
So just 8d6.
Yep. You could also, I guess, you can also write down that these things, endurance is 8 because that's the number of dice you roll.
I don't see a spot for tracking endurance in the bestiary. I'll put it in parentheses after the name. I'll do that.
Quality roll.
Yeah, so that's 3d6. That's 3 6s. So, let's say what do you carve off of this thing that's that valuable?
Well, 3 6s all in a row. I carve out the mandible, the sort of like jaw pieces, and then if it's 3 separate items, if you would
Yeah,
say
that would work.
then like the sort of the silk producing sack, if you will, you know, so the contents of whatever that stringy silky stuff is that was shot at Parda, I think is highly valuable. And then probably we had a carapace, so maybe some of the most of what looks like the intact sort of chitinous kind of armor piece sort of thing.
Yeah, I like that. So you get these 2 mandibles. They've got this weird, like you're playing with them a little bit, and you accidentally put them together, and they won't come apart. Like they've locked into place when they close, and you have to like find some joint in the back of this carapace that actually unlocks them to let them open up again. And you get this silken gland, and yeah, this big thick, maybe like 1/4 inch thick carapace that you pull off of its back. And so you can write all those things down.
Awesome.
So you guys said you were interested in heading back up to Elysium, and I think that this is, I don't know that this is necessarily a role at this point, but I want each of you to just kind of describe how you're being careful now that you know what's in these cocoons, as a couple more of them start to like shift or move after this earthquake dies down.
Sorry, I was off mute too, and I just like cleared my throat. I guess I'll go first then. So I think Rasay is crouching low with his sword held high, because I think that I am most concerned that another one might drop down, and if so, I want to be able to strike quickly. But I am also trying my best to keep an eye out for where Alicio may have walked. So I'm taking my time. I think in some ways, despite them swinging around, it's better to not disturb things any further.
I imagine Vero's sort of like, almost like, I think he's like gesturing as if he's holding on to Rasay, but not quite. He's just like has his hand out for security, like in case he needs to grab him. Like if he's gonna fall in something, he's gonna grab Rasay for sure on the way down. And I think he's like, yeah, like looking back kind of in a terrified way, but probably also directing Rasay's footfalls, you know, like a little bit to the left, you know, like careful of that step, you know, and I'm sure it's like, yeah, just ignore Vero.
I think Parda hangs for a long moment as the two of them walk off first, and she stares back at the banquet room, debating and thinking, and then turns away from it and goes after them, taking these long strides, very controlled steps as she moves along and comes behind. And when she gets to the base of the stairs to turn and head back up, she pauses and kind of cups her ear to try and listen for the crying one last time. But when she doesn't hear it, she continues to follow.
Yeah, and the three of you slowly and carefully make your way up this set of stairs. The same mural is set out behind you, this bizarre amalgamation of boiling blood pits and cracked boulders and storms that look like they would destroy a continent. Until you also make your way through these enormous double doors of oak and iron handles and into the entrance hall, where you see Elisio, who maybe has turned around to see what all the noise was, standing in the center of this room. And Elisio is not a small person, but is absolutely dwarfed by the size and scale and grandeur of this room. And
What took you guys so long?
The path wasn't as clear as we thought it might have been. You didn't do the job that you
Which way did
were
you go?
given.
And I just like shush them, like looking back in terror, like shh.
Parda does this like mocking behind Vero's.
Alicia just like shrugs and turns back around and is like, I don't know, seemed easy to me.
So I will remind you guys that the set goal for this set is to learn of the creator and his minions. And so you guys have a lot of tokens that you guys have accumulated. So you can either spend those to find treasure, or you can spend those to just achieve the set goal and move on. Or you can explore and poke around in this room a little bit. That is entirely up to you.
I think I have an idea, guys. If you don't mind me, I want to jump in on this.
Go for it.
I think this is when the mystery scroll comes out. I think this feels like the moment in the arc of our setting, that this mystery scroll, Vero has been saving it, and this is the moment, right? So I think he comes into the middle of the the large room, takes it out of his backpack, sort of clears his throat, in a sort of what sort of looking for it doesn't matter, theatrical matter, let's say. And and I think I think we established, actually, now that I started doing this, that it was a mystery to him. But I think I want to retcon that. I think I want to say that it wasn't. I want to say that that he had it for this moment, if that's okay. Yeah, and I think there's something about I don't think that he understands what this is supposed to do, but I think that he has read or written or heard that, this incantation will activate or awaken something in the room. In fact, he's read it on an artifact of some kind, which is the one, like an artifact that's brought him to where we are now.
I absolutely love that. I think this is a hunt roll, honestly. I think this is trying to learn something new about this setting, because I don't think I don't think I know what's going on here. So we will find out together. So why don't you roll 2 light die? Well, one of them is a 6.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, okay.
I mean, it doesn't matter at this point, but you got 2 die. But okay, it's a good thing you got 2. So yeah, on a 6, I think that you pull out this scroll tube, and one end of this tube is this wax seal that is a heart that has been stabbed by 3 swords interlocking. And you break the seal, and there's this like quiet whisper that starts to fade, and you pull out this old dusty parchment. And what does it say on it?
Are you asking me, or are you asking the group?
Well, anybody, I guess. I was offering it to you first. What is the incantation that's on this scroll?
Yeah, well, I kind of want to throw it to the group, and let's see if we can come up with something cool.
I here's an idea. I like the idea that perhaps we each perceive it in a different way. That sort of the magic of it unfurling, is taken on in different ways by each person. So for Parda, it is almost like a song as you read it out. Or we can go with something else.
No. I think that's interesting. I like what that made me think of is like maybe we get to see a vision from some point in history of something happening in this room, and we each witness like maybe a different vision. And so perhaps maybe your song is like some performance for the person on the throne.
I love that. So, what I actually want each of you to do, give us a brief kind of flashback vision of the last time you saw the person you care the most about. Everybody except Vero.
Yeah, because I was going to say that's just the mirror.
I can start. So let me make sure I understand. We're giving a scene of the last time we saw, whatever it happens to have been the last time we saw a person we cared about, not necessarily a scene like that took place in this hall.
Correct. So this is a scene from your past, your history of the last time you saw the person you care the most about.
Yeah. So for Parda, this is her approaching a cabin out in the woods and entering it, and a confrontation with this older woman, and there being an exchanging of words, and then this woman, grabbing up these totems and powders and things, and casting a spell against Parda, and Parda trying to lash out at her to take her life, but being unable to, and being banished away. And so just to make it clear and not hide the backstory, this is the witch that Parda was trying to hunt, who was also a person she cared about and important to her past.
That's good. I like that. Elisio, toss it over to you.
So I think Elisio, to his surprise and consternation, sees a vision of his mother, actually, who is taking him by the hand to a man who is in this memory is just like a big man-shaped shadow, basically, right? And they're in an alley, and Elisio's mother pushes Elisio towards the man. Elisio is young, pushes Elisio towards the man. The man gives the mother a couple of coins, and Elisio keeps running back to the mother and sort of grasping her leg in a very similar way to the way the corpses are arranged in the seat at the side of the throne room. And she keeps just pushing him away. And when he realizes what's happening and he sort of like shakes off this image, he just starts sort of stomping around in a circle and banging his head with his fist and muttering to himself, because what he really wanted to see was the vision of the woman that he loves.
And say,
Yeah. Rasay's in a throne room, and the person that he cared about the most was his Lord Nevin. And the last time that he saw Lord Nevin was when Lord Nevin banished him for disobeying the chivalric code, and so it's really the hardest part of that vision is the extreme disappointment that was on Lord Nevin's face, because I had shown promise up to a certain point, but I had clearly failed, and I could really read it in his look as I walked away.
Okay. And Vero, you don't see a vision. Your eyes are clear, and your eyes glow with a bright blue light as you read off the words of this parchment. They're in an ancient language that you don't understand, and none of you understand. But somehow, Vero, you feel their meaning in the back of your head as you speak them aloud, and the meaning gives them extra power. As the wind in this room starts to swirl, you hear in your head, "Rise, my beloved, come back to me now. Your memory fades as my years grow long, but I yearn for you and I call you now to me. Come back, my beloved. I call your name, Ashai. I call you." And that's where we're going to end for tonight. I had a really good time. That I really loved the ridiculous, creepy backstories and everything that you guys were able to come up with, and I really look forward to next week. Anybody who's watching us at home, thank you so much for watching. If you want to come and play more ridiculous games like this, you can find the Gauntlet at gauntlet-rpg.com. If you want to read ahead in this adventure, you can back the Kickstarter, which is going live tomorrow. A link to that will be in the description. And if you do end up coming and joining us on the Gauntlet, I really hope that I get to play with you soon. Until then, I'll see you around.